Hello and welcome back to the Digital Imaging channel. I'm Will and today you're in for a treat because we're going to talk about Microfiche. If you have Microfiche or you're potentially thinking about a scanning project, you'll need to know a few things about it so you don't stumble into a project sort of unaware. So today what we'll talk about are 6 commonly asked questions that we get from clients about Microfiche that we hope will help you as you move along in a digitization journey. Let's dive in. First up, we have, what kind of microfiche do I have? Microfiche in general are these little sheets, these sort of almost index card size sheets. It's different than microfilm in the sense of microfilm is like a roll or reel of film. Microfiche are specifically these sheets. The most common types we see are called jacket fiche and com fiche. So this is an example of a jacket, and the reason they're called that is because with 5 channels that you stick the microfilm into. So it's almost like you're putting the microfilm in a jacket, these little channels or rows. What we have here is a 35mm jacket fiche. So similar to the 16mm, you will have those channels that you can put actual microfilm into. These are 35mm images. So for things such as engineering drawings or oversized documents, they're usually filmed in a 35mm mode that goes into the 35mm jackets. And now we're going to move into COM microfiche. COM, C-O-M, stands for computer output microfilm. So the images were originally in a computer or electronic form, and then they created microfilm or microfiche from those images. You can see that it's very structured, very consistent, I should say, with each image because it's generated from a computer. And the way to tell which type of microfiche you have, if it's COM, is because you're going to have around 250 to 300 images on one sheet, and a telltale sign is this little image down in the bottom right corner, the very last image. That's an index to the rest of the images on the sheet. COM and jackets are the most common type of microfiche we see. So depending on what you have in your collection, I hope that helps you determine which kind of microfiche you have. All right, on to question number 2, which is, how many microfiche do I have? And that is a huge and very important question if you're doing a microfiche scanning project, because the quantity of microfiche sheets that you have and that you will get scanned is a big price factor for your projects. You're going to want to know how many you have. A simple method to determine how many fiche you have is the ruler method. So I have a box of fiche here, and before I measure the box, what we're going to do is take an inch of microfiche out of this stack. What I like to do is just take an inch however it lays, because if you squeeze it together and measure it, and then you measure the whole box, it could be different than if you just let it lie kind of as is. So I'm just going to lay the ruler down. What you would do is you'd pull out this stack here, which is roughly an inch based on the ruler. Count out these individual sheets and see how many you have. Usually you're looking at about 90 to 110 fiche per inch. Let's say I took that inch and it was 100 fiche exactly. I counted them all out, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 100. Then I'm going to measure the box, and it's about, call it 16 inches. This is a 15-inch ruler, add a little bit, it's about 16 inches. So I take my inch that I actually counted out, 100 fiche in an inch, times 16 inches, I have about 1,600 fiche in this box. That's a very quick way to figure out how many fiche you have. It's not going to be perfect, it's hard to get an exact number, but what we're really looking for is just general quantities. Another way to measure fiche is if you have your fiche in cabinets, you can get a quick count just by knowing which type of cabinet you have. So we'll take a look at a cabinet next. Okay, so here we are in our warehouse, and I have a cabinet here. So what we're going to do is measure the cabinet so we get a general dimension of what this thing can hold. So I'm going to take my ruler again, and it's just about 29 inches deep. Let's just call it 30 inches. And I'll show it this way. And 21 inches across. So let's just call it 21 by 30. Now, once you have that dimension, you can take a look at a drawer. So we'll pull out a drawer here, and you can see that there are going to be 3 rows in this particular cabinet. 1, 2, 3. So for each drawer, you're going to have 3 rows of microfiche. Let's say that we had 100 fiche per inch. 30 inches deep is 3,000 fiche about per row. 3 rows per drawer, that's 9,000 fiche per drawer, and then you have 9 drawers. So 9 drawers times 9,000 fiche per drawer is 81,000. So if you had every drawer full of fiche, you'd have about 81,000 fiche. That's another quick way to estimate. Okay, question number 3 is, what are my options for digitization? So digitization is basically scanning your microfiche records into a digital format so you don't have to use the hard copy anymore. So option 1 is to get a contemporary microfilm scanner. These used to be called microfilm reader printers. Now with the digital driven technologies, most of these units are now scanners. So what we're going to look at here is a contemporary scanner called the Scan Pro. So what you have here is the Scan Pro. You're basically going to use this machine to put the microfiche on the little glass area here. You put it in the machine. All of this is going to be connected to a computer where then you can scan it, you can print it, you can save it to a thumb drive, something of that sort. So if you have a collection of microfiche and you want to digitize them, one option is to get a microfilm scanner and do it yourself. One of the downsides of this is that if you have a very large collection, it may take a little bit longer to do the scanning because you have to do it. You have to find the time and the resources to do it yourself rather than having a company scan it for you. Okay, another option to digitize your microfiche records is to just scan on demand. And what that means is, let's say you have 100,000 fiche, but you're not accessing them that often. You don't really want to spend the money to scan the entire collection, and it's more work than you want to do the scanning yourself. You can just scan on demand with a company, which is basically whenever you come upon, let's say, a request or some information you need from the microfiche, you take those sheets of microfiche, you contact a company like BMI, and you say, I need 300 sheets of microfiche scanned, and just do it on kind of an ad hoc basis. A downside to that is that it could be expensive because now you're doing a lot of little projects. Not many companies are set up to do a lot of very small projects. They're mostly built for larger projects, so it could become expensive to scan on demand. But the upside is that you don't have to do it yourself or buy a machine. You can just scan when you need to, spend a little money, and just get it done. The third option for digitization is to hire a company to do your scanning. So let's say you have that 100,000 microfiche sheet collection, but you're accessing it a lot and you just don't want to deal with the microfiche records anymore, the hard copies. You can hire a company to take that entire collection, scan them into a digital format, and provide the images and data back to you. And question number 4 is, how much does microfiche scanning cost? It depends. There are a lot of factors that go into microfiche scanning, but we can give you a range of prices. So for jacket microfiche, this style, either the 35 or the 16 millimeter jacket fiche, you're looking at about 75 cents to $1.25 per sheet. And for the com microfiche, you're looking at roughly $3 to $5 a sheet. Now, some of the factors that will go into your cost, your price, are the number of microfiche that you have, so how many sheets, going back to that other question we talked about, the type of microfiche, indexing, and then one of the other factors is also your timeline. When do you want it done? How quickly do you want it done? Is it something we can take a little more time on, or is it something that needs to be expedited? So those are just a couple of examples. If you want to get into a lot more detail, we have an entire article called How Much Does Microfiche Scanning Cost that you should check out. Question number 5, how long will a microfiche scanning project take? Just like in the price factors, we talked about timeline. Now it goes into actually describing how long a project will take. Again, it depends. It depends on your specific project. How many fiche do you have? Which type of microfiche do you have? What are your project requirements? There are many variables that can come into a timeline for a project. People will ask us to do it in a certain amount of time, and we can do that most of the time, depending on other projects in-house. But that may come with a price increase if we have to bump other projects that we have already committed to. Now we're on number 6. What does the microfiche scanning process look like? So we can only speak to our specific microfiche scanning process because every company does it their own way, so we're only really talking about how we know we do it. The first step of our 11-step microfiche scanning process is transportation. There are a couple methods you can use to get your microfiche to us. You can drop it off yourself, which some clients like to do if they're close. We can send a driver in one of our vehicles. You can ship it to us. Another one is actually we fly out to your location, rent a truck, and drive your material back. Step 2 in the process is tagging the containers when they get to our facilities. What we do is we tag each box Hope you can see that. Tag each box of microfiche with a barcode, the job number, the client name, when it arrived. And we do that so that we can track your microfiche through the entire project process. So we know where it is in our building, who checked it out, when it's being scanned, how many units were scanned per box. That's why we tag them. Number 3, after we've tagged your microfiche, is we put them into secure storage. The 4th step in the process is to create your job orders, basically translating the sales contract type of language for an actual project process. The next step is taking that job order and creating your milestone 1, what we call an M1. Basically taking a small test batch of your material, creating the entire process flow, every step along the project path, which could be 10 steps, it could be 50, depends on your project requirements. We create that M1 process flow, test that small batch of microfiche, and then get your approval to make sure we're doing what we need to do correctly. So the next step in the process is calibrating the microfiche scanners, and we're going to calibrate the scanners to reflect what you need for your project based on the scope of work and the process flow. The 7th step in the process is called the pre-scan, and basically what that is we have the microfiche scanners at a certain light setting called the pre-scan setting, which scans the microfiche so that it can capture this title strip. And then of course, the main step of the microfiche scanning process is the actual scanning, where we scan your fiche and capture the individual images. After the scanning comes the post-scan image processing, and that includes framing. Framing is when we're going to take each individual image and frame that image so it's just a single document. We also have our quality assurance checks during this step of the process, and there may also be other steps such as OCR text search processing. The 10th step is the indexing step. So now that we've scanned your fiche, we have the framed images, we've gone through some post-scan image processing, now we're going to name your files. And lastly, step 11 is delivery, which is us getting you the digital images, which can either be that traditional method, maybe PDFs, TIFFs, or JPEGs, some sort of format that you can use however you want, or maybe our digital reel option where we're potentially hosting the records for you on our secure web portal. That's the 11-step microfiche scanning process and what we do to scan your microfiche. So we hope you enjoyed our video today about the 6 frequently asked questions regarding microfiche scanning. If you have any questions or want some more information, just reach out to us or take a look at our website, and we're sure you'll find what you need there. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.